Okay, so this lab is we're going to figure out the molar mass or the molecular weight, basically the same thing, of an acid. We're kind of doing a similar experiment that we just did with vitamin C, and you'll see with the finding out the pKa of and finding molecular mass of a acid. All three experiments, you need a standardized solution of sodium hydroxide, and I have video that showed how to do that. So this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out some of my acid, and I'm going to figure out how much of the acid I have using a standard amount of the sodium hydroxide. We know its concentration. If you know its concentration and you know how many mils it takes to titrate it, you have volume times molarity is moles, and you can figure out your moles of your base that you use. For every mole of base that you use, titrated the acid. So we'll be using phenolphthalein to determine when the amount of acid is equal to the amount of base when it turns pink. So if I know how much acid I have, I know how much base. Molar mass is grams per mole. I know how many grams I have because I weighed it out, and I divide that by the moles that I find out doing this experiment, and I got its molar mass. We're going to be doing three samples and get the average. So it's like other ones. I'm going to take get my scale ready up here. And to flask number 1, I'm going to add, the experiment says between 0.3 and 0.4 grams. It doesn't matter how much, if I get exactly somewhere, I need to get somewhere between 0.3 and 0.4. So about double that, I think. All right, so number 1, make sure you write this down. And I know you guys can't do the experiments, but you can participate by writing down what I tell you to. So number 1 is 0.33 grams. 0.3, well, what are you? 0.33 grams. Number 1. So laid number 1, set it aside. Okay, number 2. Again, I'm going to zero it. And I add somewhere between 0.3 and 0.4. So number 2.32. Okay, third one. Okay, number 3.30. All right, so make sure you have those written down. And we'll go on with the experiment. So I'm turning off the scale. Let me kind of get it out of my way. All right. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put about 50 mils of water, deionized water in each one. And again, it doesn't have to be exactly 50 because the amount of the water will cancel out. So I'm just going to add it to where it says about 50. That's close. That's number one. Number two. Number three. Okay. All right. I'll stir them all up individually. So I'm start up with number one, and so I have my sodium hydroxide, and I'm gonna set it on the stirrer, and I'm gonna start adding the sodium hydroxide after I add the phenolphthalein, and wait until it turns pink, and then record the final volume. So let's stir up the. So I'm getting all the acid to be fully dissolved. What we're really interested in, not how much water you have in it here, is how much of the acid you have. Okay. So I'm going to add 3 drops of phenolphthalein. 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to record the amount of sodium hydroxide. And it looks like 1.10. Okay. So I'm going to start adding. Okay, I'm just adding the sodium hydroxide slowly. This first one, I want to get, don't want to rush it, so, and after I figure out where this volume is, I can kind of go faster on the following ones. So right now we're at about 8. It's about 17. And there's pink is staying in there a little bit longer. Okay. All right, it's getting there. Now I'm just gonna let it go. All right, because even though it looks like it's staying pink, if you let it stir long enough, it may disappear. So I'm just gonna let it stir for a little bit. Usually it might just take one extra drop, but okay, I'll say it's good. So the final volume is 23.65. Okay, so I'm gonna empty this out and do my waste. Okay. Whoops. Got to get that stirrer out of there. I'll get that out. Some tweezers. All right, I'm gonna want to rinse this stir off. With some water. Okay, so set this aside because I'm going to wash it off later. Next thing is I need to refill my sodium hydroxide, get the initial volume. All right, initial volume is 0.080. So write that down for number 2. 0.800. 0.800. Okay, number 2. Same thing. I push the Brett so I can not accidentally have it drop in as it stirs up. This one should be almost completely dissolved because I let it sit. You can still see little crystals. You want to get rid of those guys. Okay, so the crystals are all gone. Now I'm going to add 3 drops of phenolphthalein. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to start adding my sodium hydroxide. Okay, I think I'm going to need around 20. So I'm going to add it kind of quickly, but I gotta keep an eye on it. You can see it turning pink. Alright, so when I start sensing it might get there, I just start going slow. Okay, so I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit. See if it stays pink. And when I'm satisfied, record volume. We're going to average these three all together after we do the calculation. And we'll go over that and after we do the labs. So we're done here. The final volume is 20.81. 20.81. Okay. So record that. Empty in the waste. So all the waste going here. Notice it went from pink to clear. That means there must be acid in there to neutralize it out. So all right, so we're going to repeat. All right, this one I'm going to take a chance a little bit, okay? So that one took 20 mils. And one was about 20 mils. So I have almost 30 mils in my barrette here of my solution. So I'm not going to refill it. I'm just going to use what's in here. And I'll have final volume, initial volume, and I'll be able to figure out how much I added. So, skip that step. Hopefully it's going to be good to do that. If it doesn't, then miscalculated. All right. So I imagine it says 21 now. If I get around 45, that's when between 40 and 50. It's a little bit dicey, but I think I'll be okay. So 1, 2, 3. All right. So the final volume, for the initial volume, is actually the final volume what we had. So the initial volume is 20.80, okay? All right, so I'm going to start adding. Right now it's at 30. Okay. It looks like I got away with it. All right. So it stays pink. I'm good. Record the volume, and then we'll be done with the experiment, and then we'll talk about how to interpret the data separately. So final volume here is going to be 40.65. 40.65. So write that down for number 3. Okay, so hopefully you'll have 3 initials, 3 final volumes, and 3 masses. And then we'll take all that information. Also the molarity, we'll talk about the molarity of this sodium hydroxide. We still have to calculate that. Then that will be done in a previous slide, video. Okay, all right, so that's it. Now all I gotta do now is clean up, which is the fun part. Okay.